Hey guys, welcome to the channel and the second video of Clojure for Noobs series. In this video, I'm going to talk about uh, Clojure's data types and fundamental data structures that it supports. Now, every other programming language has some primitive data types that it supports. Similarly, Clojure also has a list of these data types, and I'm going to list them one by one. Now, after we discuss about data types and data structures, we are also gonna take a sneak peek into the syntax of the Clojure programming language, which is basically represented as one of these data structures. Okay, all right. Now, the first data type that Clojure supports is integer, and this is an integer. There is no limit to how big this integer can be, unlike some programming languages like C or C++. If you worked in them, you face the integer overflow. It's very hard to face that in Clojure. So first data type is integer, or should we say long. Then we have doubles. So doubles are floating point numbers. So they have a decimal and then some value after the decimal. So these are doubles in Clojure. Let me just write down here. So we have longs, we have doubles, we have characters, and in Clojure, characters are represented by backslash and the character that it is. So this is the character literal A. Similarly, we have slash B as the character. Now you may wonder what happens to slash n. Slash n is supposed to be new line, right? Almost everywhere. If we say backslash n is a new line, then what is n character? So to solve that problem, Clojure has a special syntax for these character literals, like new line, space, tabs, right? So this backslash n will mean that it's the n character, and the new line will mean backslash new line. So there are 6 of these special character literals that we probably won't need, but you can always go and search uh, in Clojure docs about these special character literals whenever we need. So I'm going to list some of them. Um, you know, backslash, sorry, backspace, and there is form feed. So these are the 6 special character literals. Then we have strings, which is the sequence of characters. So we can say ABC is similarly, it's made up of slash A, slash B, and slash C. These are the characters, and it's a sequence of those characters, right? So we have strings. Strings are wrapped around with double quotes in Clojure. There is no single quotes, so I mean there is single quote, but strings are not represented by this. This is not a valid syntax in Clojure. Now we have these. Then we have keywords. Uh, Keywords are, you can think of keywords as constant strings, so to speak. They are represented by a colon and the value of that keyword, so the name of the keyword, I should say. um, Keyword name, right? So this is a keyword. They are usually used as some constant values or keys in a map that we are going to talk about in a bit. So these are keywords. There are also namespaced keywords. which I'm not going to talk right now. After keywords, we have ratios. So in Clojure, we can represent a fraction in its fractional form, like 1 by 3 or 1 by 6, without losing the precision, in the sense that 1 by 3 would give you 0.33333 going on forever, right? Now, if if we don't want to lose the precision, we can just say 1 by 3 is the value, and these are ratios. I haven't worked with ratios till now, and I doubt anybody will have to work with them unless you're working in high precision mathematics, that you will need these ratios. Yeah, so I think these are the data types that um, I mostly worked with. There might be others. This is not an exhaustive list. Um, so if we find any other data type, we will talk about that as we go. Now let's talk about data structures. In Clojure, there are a few fundamental data structures like map, vector, list, and sets, right? So let's see how map is represented. It's very similar to JavaScript object. Um, if you have worked with Java, or Python's dictionary, if you worked with Python, um, so it's basically represented by curly braces and some key and some value. And key can be anything, value can be anything. There is no um, restriction on what these values can be. It is a string, it can be a map itself, it can be a keyword. Usually people use keyword as keys, and value can be anything, right? So if I want to store users information, I'm going to say user is going to be a map with first name as, Saket, and last name as Patel. So this is going to be a map which has a key, which is a keyword user, and then its value is again a map that has two keys, first name and last name, and first name has value as a string Saket, and last name has the value as a string Patel. Okay, so these are maps. Let's just note down map. Then we have vectors. So vectors are just you can think of them as vector in C++, um, or list in Python, right? Or array in Java. Right? Those are vectors. So they have random access to each element um, that is present in it. So if we have 1, 2, 3, these can be anything. It can be a map, it can be a string, it can be a character, right? So this is a vector whose elements are 1, 2, an empty map, a string that has value hello, and the a character. Now, if you want to access the element on fourth index, it can be accessed in constant time, right? That's why they are called random access data structures. So this is vector. Now there is another data type called set. Set is represented by a pound sign and curly braces, and its elements are supposed to be unique, right? So 1, 2, 3, and hello can be a set, right? But 1, 2, 3, 3 hello cannot be a set because it has repeated elements, which is not possible in a set. So this is the set. Another data structure is the list, which is just represented by the parentheses and elements. So, like this. Okay. Now, this list does not have random access to each element. Think of it as a linked list. So if you want to access keyword, you can't just do give me like 0, 1, 2, 3, fourth element on the fourth index. You can't say that with it. I mean, you can say it, but it'll not take the constant time to access that particular element, right? It'll have to go through the whole list to get the last one. So that's a list for you. So these are the basic data types and data structures of Clojure. Now we're gonna talk about the syntax of the Clojure. Remember, I mentioned that Clojure syntax is represented in its own data structures. So let's see. So Clojure syntax, you would actually be right. I would be right. Here we would, if we want to write anything, we have to wrap it around um, parentheses. Remember, Clojure is a Lisp list programming language, and we write lists as the syntax of the Clojure. Now this is an empty list. It doesn't have any meaning. It's just an empty list in Clojure. But if you give it some elements, some special elements, then it will become the, this particular syntax will do something instead of just representing an a list. So print 1, 2, 3. Look at it. It's a list, no doubt, right? Its element is some symbol that we don't know what it does. Then 1, then 2, then 3. These are longs, right? Now this is how Clojure works. So we have a list and then we have a function here, and arg1, arg2, arg3. This is how Clojure works. So the first element in this list is a function, and then rest of the elements are arguments to that function, right? That is how we write Clojure. You have learned 95% of the Clojure. All you need to do now is to practice and get to know some functions that are available in Clojure by default. Okay. Now it might sound funny, but that's the truth. So what is this print 1, 2, 3 gonna do? Let's check it out. Let's just check it out. So I have saved this file as start.clj. I'm gonna run this. So I'm gonna say Clojure, or you can just do clj, and you can run start.clj. Oh wait, it failed. So let's see, what is the error? The error is here. Ignore it. Right. So I'm gonna run it again. You see, we have got 1, 2, 3. It has actually printed 1, 2, 3. Now, what if you wanna sum something, right? You wanna add two numbers. There is a function for that in Clojure by default. So I'm still gonna use print, but what do I want to print? I wanna print sum of 1 and 2, right? So print will no more take these elements. I'm gonna, again, how do you do the sum? Remember the syntax of Clojure? It's a list. The first element is the function, rest are the arguments to it. So what is that function that adds numbers? Wow, it's plus. So let's see. List plus is a function. Then we are gonna give it argument. What do we want to sum? I will say 1 and 2. Does this make sense? I hope so. Now, if it doesn't, just let me know in the comments. Here we are gonna save this file and we are gonna run this again. Voila, we've got 3 as the result. Now, this is simple syntax. We're gonna do something fun in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Au revoir.